Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Zoe Taylor. I'm a collections intern with MoCA, and today is March 4th. Today, I'm here with doing Chang and Billy Chang, and we're here to talk to both of them. They're both very involved with their religious community, and just to hear a little bit about what they've been going through. So, just kind of as a general introduction, if you both could kind of state maybe where you were born, how you came to the US, or if you weren't born in the US, and just a little bit of background about each of you, um, however long you want to make it.
You want to go first, honey?
I was born in Vietnam. I came to the US when I was 16, and I went to high school here, not here, but actually in Chicago. So I have been here for a while and pretty much already adapted to the American culture here. So is there any specific that you would like to know?
Just anything really, ranging from like your transition to the US, your education, occupation, and also kind of, your experience maybe adapting to US life or areas that you've lived, anything that you feel comfortable with.
So first, when I got here, I didn't know much English, and in the beginning, that was the most difficult part, especially when I just integrate right away into high school, just a regular high school in the Chicago suburbs. But the school had been very helpful just to help me to pick up the English. And that was very, very helpful, just to, it was hard, but it is okay. So in the beginning, since I didn't have much English background, so we can just pretty much try to make it by. By after 2 years after that, I be able to get a job in the bank. It's just because I had our sponsor has a good friend who is the VP in a bank. So that's how I got offered a job just to work in the filing department. And so it's not too bad, for that. And then I just continue on to, after high school, I continue on to, higher education, and that's how I met Billy. Yes.
And for me, I was born in Hong Kong many years ago. I came out of Hong Kong when I was very young, actually. And as a matter of fact, just like Suyin, my English was very poor back then. And when I came, rather than trying to work on with me in learning English one-on-one, they just say, why don't we just put him in kindergarten, even though I finished third grade already in Hong Kong. So I got stuck in kindergarten for 3 months just to learn the ABCs. And then after 3 months, they say, they think that I know enough English vocabulary to get by, so that they put me in fourth grade. And the funny thing is that we did not even finish fifth grade. And when we came to the US, we moved to the Bahamas first. And then when we came to the US, rather than continue my fifth grade curriculum, they just said, well, you are already at that age that you should be seventh grade. So we're just going to put you in seventh grade. So I never finished elementary, and we just continued to assimilate into where I was supposed to be based on my age, not based on what I am able to handle. And I clearly remember that because math is pretty universal and I was pretty advanced based on my age, um, they had to put me into pre-algebra because I failed the placement test of algebra, because those problems were all a lot of them are word problems I couldn't understand. So I was very frustrated. That put me back a year. And and then when I realized that in high school I was behind, I had to make up for it. I remember one year I had to take two math classes in one year just so that I can graduate finishing calculus. Um, but it was not hard at all. I was glad that I was given the opportunity. So in hindsight, the school system was very kind to me. Um, it allows me to do what I think I was able to handle and worked with me. Um, so I was very fortunate to finish my education like a normal high school growing up in America. So
Great. Um, from the very, I don't know if you guys grew up in the same area, but with each area you grew up in or went to school in the US versus the area you live now, were there a lot of other Asian Americans, or how kind of ethnically diverse were those areas then versus now? And were you able to connect with other people, or was it really not a lot of people in the community?
In my high school, we were pretty much the only Asian, because in the suburb that we stayed in at that time, there's not many Chinese. I mean, not many Asian at all. So in my high school, I don't know about your high school in Florida, but in the Chicago suburb and where we lived, we pretty much yeah the only Asian there. And matter of fact, the school have a lot of students. Some of them are senior that probably need to do community service. They were the one that help us with our English, so that, and also the school also used the one that have 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 to be in detention. If they, the kids that are in detention, they use the kids to help us with our English. So sometimes we pick up, we didn't know any better, so we just pick up like slang, and we pick up it just because it depends. So they have sent to us student from honor society. They sent to us student from detention room. So we get like we we just get all kind of help just for our English, because like I said, we the only Asian, and so they just kind of know that we don't have the English. So
hmm. For me, it's a little different. I started seventh grade in Miami, and I only know of one Asian beside our family in that school. So it was a very non-Asian population. But then in midstream, during the 11th, finishing 10th grade, we moved to Maryland. So in Maryland, there's a lot of Asians here. I mean, I can, it's almost like 15% at that time were Asians. So I feel pretty comfortable. And not only that, my brother's in-laws, siblings were attending the same school. So I just tag along with whatever they're doing, and I play with all their friends. So it was a very easy transition for us coming to Maryland.
That's great. Kind of on like, you mentioned you're comfortable here. There's a lot of other Asian Americans. Recently there's been a lot of racially motivated attacks because, like, in regards to COVID-19. Have you guys experienced any of that, seen any of that in your area, or, felt unsafe in your community with everything going on? Kind of your response to what you've been seeing in the news and everything?
I have not seen that in
Where we live.
our in where we live in our area, which is the suburb of DC. Is DC Metro one of the suburb? I have not seen that, but because I work in the high school, so I have heard some Asian teacher they have encountered some of that from their student.
Mm.
Yeah, but then high school student, they just don't know any better, right? And so yes, we have heard they communicate, teacher communicate with each other about these.
Mm. Yeah, I think when I was in 7th grade, there was some picking on me because I was Asian, but after that, there was really none, at least not in my experience. And throughout the whole pandemic, I did not pick up any inkling of any racial slur or any animosity toward me in any ways. And I go out every day to go to work.
I'm glad to hear you guys haven't directly experienced anything. Yeah, it's hard when you're looking at the news and it can feel so negative. But it's nice to hear both of you haven't had anything directly happen. I'm going to switch over to some questions more related to kind of your involvement with your community. I know that you are both really involved with your religious community, and I was just wondering if you could discuss that a little bit more, kind of talk about your community and your role and anything else, how the importance of that for the both of you.
Okay.
We are involved in a local church. The area that we involved in, the majority of our life in the past was probably working with the youth or with the children in the past. So basically, we are very involved with our church to do in the different areas. Lately, for this year, especially that we start to branch out into the community because of the pandemic, and there are many needs in the communities. You probably already have heard about the struggling of small businesses and people lost their job. So we have been looking into this area to so that our church can be a part of the of the community, just whether we collecting food or whatever it is. But that's what we've been into it since the end of last year, actually. So, and it's still going. We're still thinking about some other avenue that we can be part of.
Well, my wife is very compassionate to the community around us. So that's where she spent a lot of the time looking into. Even before pandemic, we have always been very active in our church. We attend a local alliance church here in Rockville. And because we were so active, we really serve in different ministry at church. It's a Chinese church, but it has an English congregation there. So we only associate with the English side of the church, even though there's a whole large side that mostly speak in Mandarin only. That's why we oftentimes get involved with a lot of the youths, the kids of the parents from both sides. But nowadays, we don't get involved as much with the youths. We spend more time with prayer meeting, with fellowship, and I involve, doing a lot of arrangement with online worship because we are not allowed to meet in person on the facility of our church. So there's a lot of coordination required where those who are leading the singing, the recording of it, the scripture reading, the sermon, the preacher. So there's just a lot more logistics involved ahead of time, unlike before the pandemic, that we just had to arrange a lot of things and then we had to execute on the day, on the spot. But now we had to spread all out throughout the days prior to the Sundays and you get all the ducks lined up, so to speak, so that the flow online worship experience can be as smooth as possible.
How is that, you know, when the pandemic started, it seems crazy, a year ago, how has that transition been for your community and for the both of you? You know, something that is so involved with community and so social, and you know, transferring it into a virtual platform. How has that been? You know, trying to get people together in the same way and
Right.
dealing with that. Yeah.
It's definitely a learning experience, at least to me. I think my wife may have a completely different experience. Um, we had to more like trial and error in utilizing different social media platform, whether it is Facebook or YouTube. And when we hit snags, whether it is the network or the ability of the software to handle for those individual platform, that we had to switch over. And so it took us more than a month before we actually settled down with the process that we believe is repeatable, is consistent, and the experience does not have, it's not jerky or laggy with the network possible um, hindrance. So once we get that down, it was pretty easy. And we were just very glad that many members of our church are very faithful in signing up and follow through what they sign up so that all different parts can come together quickly on the Saturday, the day before Sunday. I don't know. Do you have a different experience?
So Billy just told you the technical aspect of it. I can give you the human interaction if you want to know about the virtual and in person. To me, I think it's an adjustment that need to be made in the beginning when we switch into virtual. Um, I actually have some people that I know. They say it's weird. It's not the same. You know, it's kind of strange. So yeah, it was tough in the beginning to just to gather together just in your own living room to sing, and you can only sing to hear your voice. It's definitely weird. But I just think that after a year of that, we can. I myself is kind of get over the hump of that. I get to the part that no, this is really now. It's just between me and God. It's not about anybody else anymore. I think that's one of the things that if we go to have a gathering in person, you have a tendency to be in the mode of doing it, you know, just to get together gathering. But now, if it is virtual, whether you do it or not, nobody cares. Nobody watching you, right? So it's really have to come in from your heart, your inside motive that you really want to do it. I think that is the part that in the beginning people have a hard time with, but I think it's getting better. It's getting better. And I heard many of these uh, reaction also from kids, when they meet on virtual too, because we I work in a high school, so this kind of thing we heard. Even now, students keep saying, parents keep saying, it's not the same if the kids meet in person, which is true. Meeting virtual is it's just not the same. But then, if you're in the situation where you cannot go anywhere, totally shut in, and then what? I guess there's a difference between when we talk about virtual worship and virtual learning, like from school. That's totally different thing, right? So
Yeah, I can also remember that it was very difficult for many of the members to feel like worshiping with along with others during Sunday worship hour. So we try to encourage many who to log into the platform and greet one another, to say hi or something, so that others knows that I'm not alone here doing my thing, right? I feel like there's still a small sense of community in gathering together. But yes, it is real what Surin said. It's very difficult. We had to do it really intentionally and be mindful that there are others who are worshiping with us at the same time.
That's great that you guys, it's a time we need this the most, you're able to, still come together. Because
Right.
My grandma, she goes to church. In the past, she would go to church like 4 times a week. Obviously now, she can't do that.
Right.
She's really struggles with technology. And so I
Oh,
was curious to see if that has impacted any of the people in your community, kind of this adjustment. Um,
definitely.
definitely.
Definitely, there were some who really struggles, especially the first few months. Um, and there are some of them I had to call them up over the phone and talk them through how to connect, whether it's Zoom or other platforms. So it it takes a while for them to begin to feel comfortable doing it on a regular basis, and and um, I think they are fine now. I have not heard too many calling me needing help. So, but yes, this is a definite problem.
It's a problem.
Yes.
Um, but I think in our church, because we incorporate the younger generation as well as the older one. So when in the beginning of the pandemic, and when the church need to create like all of this website and Mailchimp and all that, we have the younger generation, and our daughters are also in this group that they all put together just to get the church going. Other than that, I think with the older generation like us, some of them used to be Sunday school teacher, and now also they switched to managing Zoom meeting or be able to learn how to share. That's when the church need to our church would have people just to help, just to help people to feel, to get used to this, so it's almost like you need to make the extra effort to reach out to the older community, to the older group, just to make sure that they be able to connect, because without that connection it can be very depressing. So I there's time that I go around and just ask some of my friends if they know anyone that have problem to connect, because it could be very depressing. I mean, you're talking about first you have a support group, and now it's like you just home all the time. So
Yeah, it's very frustrating because when you can't connect, you do not know who to call, and even though you might have a name, you're not sure whether that person is available, or able to help you at all, or even how to help, because can they even come over? Well, maybe I don't want them to come over, because some of these are elderly and rightly so that we need to learn to protect them. Especially with me, had to go to the store and work every day. We had to be very cautious what kind of help we can offer, if at all.
so basically I really think your generation is the one to shine when it's come to church ministry, because you guys are more and more comfortable with the technology, and you know you can contribute, so
Have there been, I know it's the transition is difficult, but have there been any really great stories that you can think of, in a virtual environment, that you've been able to connect with people within your church, that you're thinking maybe this wasn't possible in a
But,
virtual platform?
but there is one positive experience that we realized through the pandemic. Um, Before the pandemic, our prayer we usually pray every Wednesday night at church, and we will only have maybe five,
less than that.
sometimes even three very few, right? Most of the time it's under 10. But because we went virtual and many of our members do not on a regular basis go, meet in person on regularly on Sunday. So they are very eager to meet anyone, anytime. So our prayer meeting, when once we went online through Zoom, we have an influx of members joining us in praying. Now we average, 12 to 14 on a weekly basis. So we were very delighted that that more was able to come and join in prayer for the whole year. So that's something that we really feel blessed.
And they don't want to meet in person during the weekday, even if the church is open. It's just because
So much more convenient because it's very tiring to come home from work
to fight the traffic
and still had to come to a church to a prayer meeting, and then in between that had to worry about dinner for the family. So we are thinking about why don't we just continue a prayer meeting online? I mean, and it's so convenient for everyone.
Yeah, that's really a positive thing that we saw happen. That through virtual that more people can access. And I think it's also that because we live in the suburb, right? I mean, if it is like in the city where everything is close by, that may be different. But in the suburb, everything is. We have people that live in Virginia, while our church is in Maryland. So virtual just make it easier.
Yeah, if everybody go back to work in person, the traffic will be crazy. It's not possible for them to be able to drive from Virginia, for example, to a church in Maryland and able to attend a prayer meeting. So I think there's a lot in that aspect. We are very happy to have that transformation of some sort.
That's great. That's great. You were able to make it more accessible to people.
Yes.
I feel like, that's amazing that you were able to serve more people within your church through that aspect. Are there any other areas that that you think you'll keep virtual, or maybe have like virtual options, thinking ahead, as we transition out of this era? Or are you thinking you want to try and do more of it in person, or it's kind of up in the area, you don't know?
Well, I normally meet with there's a missionary. She that the couple tried to have a prayer meeting during the weekday. They live in Georgia, right? And they have this prayer meeting through Zoom, and with people from Maryland, Virginia, and Michigan, just from all over the place. So as you see, I don't think they're gonna change anything. They will continue to meet like this every other week, right? Because they be able now to pull people from different states who have the same mind and same burden, just to get together and pray. So when you ask about is anything that we want to change, as we about hopefully exiting the pandemic soon, we've been thinking about hybrid model. Some county school have been thinking about this too. So with church, I think especially during the weekday, hybrid model is definitely a something to look into.
Well,
right?
one thing for certain, we don't want to restrict ourselves of all the possible options moving forward, and we will discuss that as time comes in terms of what makes sense, whether it's hybrid or all in person or some still stay online. The other area that I think I can really see a benefit is that some of our board meetings from church can be long, and and have a hard time to place it, with our busy schedule, and able to meet in virtual. We have more freedom to choose a weekday night to have it rather than everything jammed on a Sunday busy day. And sometimes because we are meeting in person, we think that we had to meet in person. A Sunday can last from 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 p.m. at night. So it's really tough to many of us. But with virtual, we are able to do it on a Monday night, for example, and not be exhausted afterward.
It's great. You're keeping, options open to whatever serves you
Exactly.
guys the best.
Whatever serve us, right? We are not there to serve the meeting has to serve us.
Definitely. You mentioned earlier about various projects you had going on outside of your church, helping the community with local restaurants. Or I was wondering if you could touch more about those projects you started with the start of COVID back a year ago.
Okay. So during the Thanksgiving and Christmas season, we did the food drive for our local, just within for the county, for an organization in our county. So we did that for 5 weeks. And other than that, I think our church also have done, preparing food for the frontline workers, for the nurses in the local hospital. Now, the one I'm thinking of right now is outside of our county. This one I'm thinking of is in Washington, D.C., right? And this is about, this one is a faith-based, it's a Christian organization who right in DC and helping the homeless. So that is the one that I've been looking into. And I was thinking of this because Easter is coming up. I'm looking for something to do just to express our appreciation of what Jesus have done for us, right? Whether during the Christmas season or the Easter season. And that is what, that's what I've been looking into. So this is the first year that we are doing, looking into an organization in DC. So I'm still working on it. So
we're not sure how it will fan out and whether it will materialize in time or not. So a lot of uncertainty.
Sorry to interrupt. Did the goals of your projects change when COVID started, or did you kind of already have these ideas in play and you just emphasized them?
We do have those engagement in the past before pandemic, but I think they are even more relevant during the pandemic.
Yeah, I think there's just more during the pandemic.
Like during the Christmas time, it's really for communities food bank. And there are times I remember when the stimulus check has not come in yet. There are actually family that needs to find frugal way of getting by until then, and they will turn to the food bank for their needs, even for a few days. Every little bit helps to them. So we were just glad to be part of that.
Yeah, if I compare Christmas and Easter before the pandemic, and now during the pandemic, and I think the focus is switched, is different. I think that during the pandemic, when we at all of these big holidays, which we normally would celebrate within the church, among church family, right? For the kids, for our young kids, but now it's more like we look outward into the community where people are, in need.
And I know you mentioned that you're a teacher. Did you mention that you teach Sunday school, or you used to, or kind of this involvement, mentioning with the youth and especially with children, can be difficult to keep their attention sometimes with the changing platform. I'm just curious, if the continuation of Sunday school has gone virtual, if you guys are involved with it, how has that experience been for you?
Okay, so during the pandemic, we did not go virtual on the Sunday school for the youth, for the teenager. But our church still have the for the children, for the younger children, they still have virtual, and I was told that it's difficult. It's difficult to do virtual because it's just harder to capture kids' attention, and yeah, it's just harder for the teacher.
And when Duyen said we did not go virtual with the youth, what she meant was that we did not have any meeting with them at all. Our church did not organize any kind of any form of meeting, whether virtual or in person. We just let them be to be at home with their parents. But with the children, we tried to start a virtual online club for them, and it was a struggle for the teachers. Teachers wanted to be creatives in presenting different format and different interaction, different resources, material. Even playing a movie to Zoom can be quite challenging for some of our teachers. For example, the video may be playing, but there's no sound. And then while they're trying to sort that out, the kids, wondering what is going on. So it was almost a nightmare for them at the beginning. So as you can see, there was a lot of challenge to overcome.
But for the youth, because they are older, so they, I will assume that they join in with the online worship on Sunday.
Right.
And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure as a teacher, you have experience with the adjustment and everything. So I'm sure, yeah, I've just seen a lot of different things about the adjustment, especially for elementary schoolers. It's definitely challenging.
Right.
But those are all the questions I have for you guys tonight. If you have any final comments or any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Well, overall, looking back for the past year during the pandemic, I have to say that God has been very good to us, even though it may seem like the world is completely out of whack. Our routine is completely uprooted, and we play with something unknown. Uncertainties always everywhere around us, but we really feel the blessing from God, and I think that's where we really feel that that God will continue to do great things among us. So it's a lot to look forward to, and I know that I can't wait to get back and meet in person again with many of our friends and even family. We have a lot of family that attend the same church with us. So
Zoe, your grandma be able to connect?
She has, which is good. So yeah, she lives with my uncle and aunt and my two cousins. So she has help, which is great.
That's good.
But yeah, is there anything that both of you are really looking forward to do after the pandemic? Is like anything like, oh, I'm really excited to do this or see this person, or it can be very small,
travel with family, extended
Mhm.
families. We already start dreaming about, oh, where should we meet when we can travel?
Yeah, I just miss the family. Well, I have brother and sister live in California, so so it's kind of, we still contact very closely with them, but at some point we all feel kind of tiring of the situation. and feel like we can wait just to get back to normal.
Right.
Which I don't know that whether we be able to go back to normal, but we'll see. Yeah.
Right. Well, my side of the family, I have a very large family in the U.S. Almost 50 some relatives living here. So we try to get together a big family reunion every couple of years or so, and we really miss that. We keep postponing because of this. We don't know. We thought we can meet up this August, but now we had to postpone that again. So we don't know when we can get together again, but we look forward to that.
Yeah, our niece and nephew weddings have been moved so many times.
2 years already.
Yeah, just because of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's hard with all the unknown, planning things and looking forward to things, but
Right.
there are things to look forward to, which is good. But thank you both so